What very important we to understand is everyone desire for peace and happiness. There's no question about that. Everyone desire to free from suffering. It's a universal. See, even there are some ruthless individuals who are very destructive. Still, in their own mind, they want peace and happiness. See, maybe they are very destructive for others, out of the ignorance, out of the mental afflictions. But in their own mind, they want to be happy. Sometimes they are very destructive because they enjoy. They have some kind of peace in their mind through the wrong cause. So this is the first you have to understand this, you see. Then the peace and happiness that we want, it doesn't happen just by saying some prayers, chanting mantras. Say, can you give me some peace and happiness? It doesn't happen that way. Suffering as well that we're going through, it doesn't go away just by saying prayers or by just wishing. Say, may my suffering may go away. I don't like this suffering. This is obvious, clear. It's very important that we come to know this. Because of this, now everyone becomes so busy. What should I do to bring peace and happiness? What should I do to free from suffering? So according to their own mental capacity and information that they got, they go to their ability, capabilities, we should call, then everyone makes effort, doing something, how to make life better, bring more peace and happiness, less suffering. All things in the world they do is for this, you see. Whether through the science, through the technologies, through the economic, But you see, whatever cause that we do, we create, may not necessarily be the cause for the result, the object that we want. See, that shows, first of all, the causality is very complex. Very, very complex. And then at the meantime, the mind, what we talk about, that the mind is very profound, very sophisticated, very complex. You see, his mind is not just empty. It has such an unfathomable nature. It's like the peeling the onion one after another. So mind is such profound that we have to understand it. You see, the modern science, the modern technologies, science, for them, doesn't have much idea about the mind because they depend on the machine. Through the machine, they measure the mind. So they talk about sometimes the brain. So the brain is the mind, say. But you see, mind is more than a brain. It's very complex. You have to understand that. So all the complexity of the mind and very sophisticated and profundity nature of the causality, that whole system is what the whole universe is functions. According to this mental capacity, mental ability, as well as the causality, all this, the whole world is functions within that. So for us, those who are dedicated in the Dharma study practice, this is a very precious thing, important to understand that, you see. So you see, this is not something Buddhism, Buddhist belief, but this is something universally kind of, what's called whole universe is maintained and functions within this within this sphere, within this causality. So make sure that we understood that. So now, just this I'm just saying, just a brief, just so that you can investigate, you can study, you can practice about this. Since it is only we have 1 hour to talk about, now important is that, how to bring peace and happiness in our life through the Buddha's teachings. First, Buddha did is a very complex thing, very simple. Everyone knows this, Tikpa chiang mechashin, kawa pusum sopar che, rangi semni yunsu dul, ninsanje temba yins. So you see, avoid all the unwholesome thoughts and deeds. Engage in all the wholesome thoughts and the deeds, and thoroughly tame your mind. So this is Buddhist teaching. So that is the summary of the complete Buddhist teaching, whether it is Vinaya, Bodhisattva Mahayana teaching, Vajrayana teaching, all teachings are within this subject. That is how, Buddha's teaching starts with a very simple, then approach to the most complex, the enlightenment. So because, the virtue and non-virtues is not a Buddhist concept, that how the whole universe is created through these causes and conditions. Look at our mind, anger, attachment, ignorance. These three are called three poisons. See, the three poisons of the mind. Attachment. First, we have attachment. Attachment to the person, attachment to the fame, attachment to the wealth, attachment to things, food, clothes, all this. Look at all this attachment. There's so many, From the very gross obvious to the very subtle attachment. Then next, there's anger, aversion, resentment, wrath, malicious thought. All this another side of the mind. These two are based on the ignorance, not knowing what their role is about. Not knowing, no, if I do this, what will happen? I just see that moment, what kind of benefit I get, but we don't see behind that. See? So these three portions, it's not a Buddhist, but universally, everyone in the world who has this kind of mental afflictions called nyomoba, anyone who has, who doesn't believe anything, if one has this, any one of these, that becomes the cause of suffering. It's not that how much you got, how much money you have, how famous you may be, but as long as when these mind, when these mental afflictions are habituated within our own mind, that ruins the peace and happiness. You see, even who doesn't believe anything. So I don't believe anything. But that individual who is oriented through these mental afflictions, the suffering is there. You see? And then, see, that's why Buddha said, avoid all the non-virtues. It's not because Buddha is teaching Buddhism, but Buddha is teaching to everyone how to avoid the cause of suffering. So, then, all the good thoughts, absence of these three portions, love and compassion, bodhicitta, are the cause for peace and happiness. See, in the world, now you can see, everyone will appreciate love and compassion. Like if any individual is born, a mother gives a child, a child, baby, she takes care of the child out of love, out of compassion. So this is my child. I want to make my child happy. I want to protect my child. So she, doesn't matter what she believes, or even she doesn't have any religion, even animals, insects, birds, look at all this. The offspring is protected, grows well out of the love and compassion, not out of anger or hatred. This is nothing to the religion of Buddhism. Practice of love and compassion, kindness, is not a religious thing. It is universal. Everyone is appreciated. Admire this. See, it's the requirement for individuals' life to have peace and happiness. See, So this is what about universe. So on the base on that, Buddha taught the teachings. See, so Buddha's teaching is not just only for Buddhists. Buddha's teaching is not just only for human beings. Buddha's teaching is for every sentient beings. These causalities are more important, I think, than the Mahamudra or emptiness philosophy. Emptiness philosophies, even the science, modern science, quantum physics theory, they have proved how everything is now within in the emptiness. But the causalities are more complex, more difficult, more sophisticated. So it requires such a mental capacity to penetrate that. So for our all interest, Buddhist, non-Buddhist, anyone, so look at the universal reality nature. The causality is not just a Buddhist belief, but the whole world functions within that. Look at nowadays, now the climate change. There are so many things, problems in the world. It's because the causality, the cause that were created. Through that cause that were created, then the effect manifests from that. If there's no any cause, nothing will manifest. Not at all. If there's no cause, if there's no conditions, so the causes and conditions that, whether they are Buddhist, Christian, Muslim, Hindus, doesn't matter. It transcends all the differences because it's universal. It's universal reality nature. So through that, see, as I brought the quotation from the Buddha, we avoid all the cause of suffering. The Bhajan Mejashin, that one, you see. So physically, taking life, stealing, sexual misconduct, verbally telling lie, harsh words, divisive speech, idle talk, mentally covetousness, attachment, then malicious thought, aversion, and ignorance. Ignorance means not understanding the causality. Lechude Meshiba. Ledem Meshiba. See, if you know the causality, but sometimes we are reluctant to practice that. So when we are reluctant to practice that, then we pay the price. There comes this cause of suffering. Then we complain, oh, this problem, this and that, all this chaos things happens because we have created the cause. We cannot prevent the result, the effect, whatever happens. Even Buddha cannot, what Jigdu said, when the causes and conditions proceeded, just happened, the result, even Buddha cannot stop it. Buddha just can explain what's the cause of that. So all what we have the opportunity is how to create the cause. How to create the cause for peace and happiness. How to avoid the cause of suffering. That is all the opportunity we have, possibility we have. Once cause is created, then it becomes too late when the result manifests. So even Milarepa said, he said, the causality is more difficult to penetrate than the emptiness understanding. Emptiness, you can analyze this, that, all dust particle in back and forth. There's no something exists independently, You can get some ideas from that. But causality, so only Buddha's wisdom can perceive that. So all our teachers in the world who have the responsibility should share this wisdom to the practitioners. So this is what I have. Nagarjuna said, see, the desire, the aversion, ignorance, these are called non-virtues. In the absence of desire, attachment, aversion, and ignorance, it's called virtue. So virtue is the virtue, cannot become non-virtue. The non-virtue is non-virtue, cannot become virtue. Because suffering is suffering. Suffering is not a happiness. Happiness is the happiness, it's not suffering. You see, very fine line. That's why Lord Jigto Sungul said, Shiki Keta Mikiwa, Chiki Chila Nemesis, That is the reality nature of the virtue, cannot replace by others because it's virtue. The non-virtue, the reality nature of non-virtue cannot replace by virtue because it's non-virtue. So non-virtue is the cause of suffering. And the virtue is the cause for peace and happiness. So this is our own interest. I cannot say I don't believe this. Because I believe peace and happiness. I don't like suffering, you see. As I mentioned, even who doesn't believe anything, but he or she enjoys peace and happiness. He or she never appreciates suffering, you see. That's the reality nature. So that's why Buddha taught. Buddha's teaching is for every sentient beings. So we Buddhists, follower of Buddha, has such a great responsibility. If we take refuge in Buddha Dhamma Sangha, if we follow the Buddha's teaching, we all have a great responsibilities to follow that way. Not in a dogmatic tenet system. So this is your system, this is our system, this is that system. No, it's all system. That is such a cause of confusion, attachment. This is my system, I attach to that. This is your system, you hate that. So there comes within in the Buddha's teaching, then there's attachment, there's aversion. So we have to transcend that kind of boundary. We have to make the Buddha's teaching as a universal truth. And then we make effort from that. Then when we say, I take refuge in Buddha, Buddha will see, oh, this person has some kind of wisdom I appreciate, I respect. And if you are destructive within in the Buddha's teaching, about the Buddha's teaching, Buddha will not appreciate. No? So it's very important. This is our own experience. So there are so many layers of the causality, you see. There are many layers of causality, one after another. Just for example, when you don't like your enemy, there are many ways to handle that, you see. The shortcut is you just kill the enemy and finish it. Then you say, I finished my enemy. You don't have wisdom behind that now. What's the causality about that? So Buddha didn't teach that, you see. Buddha taught more how to handle these things. So there are 6 parameters, practice of generosity, you see. Then moral ethics, how to keep the moralities. And then patience, perseverance. You see, all the steps are taught how to handle things carefully, skillfully. Eventually, we can uproot all the cause of suffering. Then there comes the wisdom of emptiness to take care of all the dualistic mental attachment, to purify this. Then the practice of emptiness becomes very effective. But first we have to know all this step by step. So the love, compassion, bodhicitta, you see, Chamba, Nyingji, Changju Sen, see. If we don't have a universal way of practice of love to every sentient beings, Chamba, our loving kindness, can just relate to the attachment. I have love for my friends. There's attachment. You have a love, you want your friend to be happy, but there's attachment. You see, you have compassion, someone else, when they're suffering, but there's aversion who create the cause of suffering. There's anger. And we don't know about that, how to handle. There's no bodhicitta. It's ignorance. See? So we have to practice the love, Chamba, in the absence of attachment. We have to practice the compassion, in the absence of aversion, anger. We have to practice the bodhicitta in the absence of ignorance, then this practice can become real cause of peace and happiness. This within in the mind. Nobody can order you to have love and compassion. No. Even your spiritual master, very powerful, but cannot give you love and compassion, but can explain how to practice love and compassion. Even your great teacher is so compassionate, but cannot give you bodhicitta, but can explain what about the bodhicitta. That's why Buddha said, Tumnam Tikpa Chui nutritions, you see. Buddha, his hand cannot wipe out, dispel all the non-virtue, sin, and all the sufferings in the samsara. Buddha cannot wipe out, take out the suffering by his hand. As well, so the word doing a target musician. Buddha cannot grant his realization of enlightenment to his followers. But what Buddha can do, Buddha can speak, teach. Buddha can teach the causality and the suchness of the phenomena, explain and lead to the enlightenment. So that's very obvious, clear. Buddha was very precise, clear. Buddha did not say, you worship me and I will take care of you. No. But Buddha said, you should study, practice what I taught, follow the path. This is nowadays, we require this, that this Buddha taught 2,000, about 600 years ago. You imagine how much time changed. Belief systems have changed. Lifestyle is changed. But how Buddha taught has never changed. But we are difficult to understand what Buddha taught. Still we're worshipping somebody else to solve my problem. Says, this powerful deity I worship, then I did my all obstacles dispelled. If that deity can do it, since the deity is the nature of the bodhicitta, not just to individuals, has the compassion, bodhicitta for everybody. Why not that deity can dispel all the obstacles of the samsara? Make samsara just a good place. That's the reality. Doesn't happen. So we individually have to make effort and follow the path step by step. And then we can breathe peace within. Genuine kind of respect, loving kindness, compassion, and then build mind of bodhicitta, desire to achieve Buddhahood. Because we won't appreciate suffering in any time, right from the beginning, in this life and next life, no matter how, we will never appreciate the suffering. We will always make effort to free from suffering. See? So to free from suffering, you see, making a lot of money, we cannot free from suffering. You know, there's some may have a lot of money, but they're in the doom of the suffering, you know. They don't appreciate their life. Say, I have this much money now, I'm so happy, you know. They're worrying so much, suffering is too much, you know. Now what should I do? How to handle my money? How to keep my money? And then there's, you know, like there's lots of confusion, suffering is there. But when you know how to appreciate, rejoice, content, then real peace is there. I'm not saying we should not have money. Of course, we should have money, you know. We need to eat, wear clothes, have a place to live, you know. But what I'm saying is how to content, appreciate what you have. Then that will make real happy. Nagarjuna said, you know, nonam kunji choshi, nonam kunji. Not of the choshi is no. Kundo choshi is chochena, nome doja yanda jorba las. When you know how to content, appreciate, rejoice, then you are real rich, you are real happy. Now I'm just sharing how Buddha taught, okay, how to bring peace and happiness through the Buddha's teaching. I have to say a few of these things, the complexity of the mind. No, look at your own mind. See, today you are happy, then you feel, oh, I'm so happy because you are happy for something, because of no, I want to maintain that way. But next day, you are not happy. See, then what went wrong? I don't know. No, because your mind is twisted. The same thing which made you happy, next day, it's horrible. It's cause of suffering. Your friend, you met a friend, no, because you like that friend and said, this is my best friend. We are so good, no? There's such great joy having this friend. But after some time, that same person who gave you the great joy will give you great suffering. You know? See? Then what? What you should do? So all the outer conditions are just conditional changes. Because when it changes through your mind, then everything changes. So what we should learn is we learn practice of loving kindness, compassion, bodhicitta, and the practice of 6 paramitas. If we do that, there's great joy. That joy is fearless. No fear. No cloudy mind. Instead, very clear. Doesn't matter where you go, where you live. You always appreciate, rejoice. That's why you read some life stories of great masters in the past. Even though the cultural systems change, but the way they kind of brought joy, confidence, fearlessness is we can achieve that still now. See, look at the life story of Milarepa. Of course, there's no comparison, but look at Milarepa. He possesses nothing. Even he has no food to eat, but he's always happy. You know, he's always rejoiced what he's doing. He's always grateful what he received. No, there are some people when came to see Milarepa, oh, your life is so awful, you have no food to eat, but you look very smart. But why you made mistake, you know? You should do better than this. So then he says things. He said, I know. I'm not confused. You know, I know what I'm doing. I know what I got. I'm the supreme human being. I have the precious human life, and I met Marpa, and I received Dharma teachings through the Buddha to become Buddha in one lifetime. I'm the smartest man in the world that exists. So he made the history, you see. There are many great scholars in the world, you know. They will say Vajrayana will achieve enlightenment in one lifetime. But Milarepa is the one who did it in his life. You know, brought the example of the precious, the power of the Buddha's teaching, that if we practice, we can do it. So, everyone, young or old, everyone should make effort this. We never should be lazy until we die. No, we have to go forwards until we become Buddha. No? Until we become Buddha, you see. Whether this life, next life, afterlife, doesn't matter. But we have to continue so that we can serve all humanity in the world. Not just from a religious point of view, but from the wisdom, from the compassion, from the skillful means. We can help all world in the know, not through the titles. In the Buddha's teaching, the titles are secondary. I know in Tibetan system, we have a lot of title system. This title, that, this high, this low, you know. But we should not attach to these titles. Titles are just illusory nature. They're just trap. We have to make our mind open. See, then look at the impermanence. We're aging, you know. See, as I just mentioned at the beginning, you know, I'm aging, so I lost a lot of interest. Now I lost interest talking to people. I don't have phone. Otherwise, some people, they have phone all 24 hours, talk, you know. Oh, how are you? What are you doing? Where you are doing? What we should do, all these things. I don't have phone to talk, you know. And then there's some saying, so now I have email. And then what you call the WeChat, you know. But very few. I don't have still WhatsApp and all these things. They say we are talking about the WhatsApp and this and that. So I said, I don't have those things, you know, because when you are aging, you are losing those ability, your interest. But we should never lose interest of the Dharma. Dharma study, practice. Because it's our own benefit. And then we can serve the Buddha's teaching, serve the sentient beings. So these are some important points that I just said.